Newcastle United may have a master plan. Three transfers, a winger, a centre back, and a question mark. What else do Newcastle United need this upcoming window? We've seen big links to Elanga, to now Kim Min Jae, and Joao Pedro. Do they need another centre back? We'll have to get into it. Make sure you go down, drop a like on the video if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button to pieces, and let me know your thoughts on every single topic we discuss. The road to 60K is well and truly on. We're about 300 subs away from hitting 56,000, which is ridiculous. Now, Newcastle United, for me, there's so much potential in that team. They've got one of the best functioning midfields, Tonali, Joelinton, and of course, Bruno Guimaraes. They've got an unbelievable number 9 in Alexander Isak. They just need to add, for me, one centre-back of I'd say the level raiser, like bring in someone who can completely control that back line. I think their goalkeeper is good enough. I think their fullbacks are exciting in Livramento and Lewis Hall. And at the moment, no one's coming in for Isak. They're pretty much going to keep him into next season. Livramento, they're going to have to command 75, probably maybe 70, 75 million for him. But they're in a position of strength right now. They don't have to sell players, right? They're in a position of complete security when it comes to Alexander Isak, because I don't think anyone's coming in for him. You got Harvey Barnes, Elanga, and Murphy. But there is another few players on their radar. And I want to look at a potential team with these in, because after all, Newcastle have got Champions League football. They haven't been able to go out there and spend hundreds of millions of pounds like they can because of their FFP. They didn't go and spend huge money, although we did see on deadline day a big bid going for Elanga. Could he potentially be a Newcastle United player? The first bit of news coming out from Court of Sign is Kim Min Jae. Now, Liverpool, Newcastle United, and Chelsea are interested. Now, Liverpool have obviously got one of the best defences in the world. They've got Konate, they've got Van Dijk. They probably need a third centre-back. You've got Frimpong and Kirkes when he eventually signs. Newcastle United, I really like the three centre-backs they've got. I like Scher, I like Dan Burn, and I like Botman. Now, you know, in terms of that team, this is the team that played on the final game of the season against Everton in the 1-0 defeat. Now, they went with a back three. Murphy played at right back and Livramento went at left back because of Lewis Hall was injured. Barnes scored and Isak, Guimaraes, Tonali. I think Newcastle are at their best when they're in a back four with the three in the midfield. However, Eddie Howe likes to change things up. You would probably say right now, Kim Min Jae, who divides of a lot of opinion. I do think he does have a mistake in him. You know, I'm not going to lie. I tried to call it as I see it, and there is maybe a mistake there or two in his locker. He's 28 years of age, right? You look at the current set of centre-backs that Newcastle got. Botman's 25 and probably their best centre-back. Dan Burn is probably their second best centre-back, and he's currently 33, right? And you've also got Fabian Schär, who is 33 as well. So they need to probably bring in a centre-back within the next, either now or in January. Is Kim Min Jae the answer? I personally think the best centre-back that they've been linked with would be Guéhi. Now, of course, Crystal Palace may be kicked out of the Europa League, and Newcastle have got Champions League. Now, Kim Min Jae isn't a first choice at Bayern Munich anymore, but around 35 million euros, which is about, 28 million quid. I don't actually think that's bad business for Newcastle United. I really don't. It gives them significant squad depth. He's got Champions League experience. He's, when he was at Napoli, he was absolutely insane, right? In a team that's coached by Eddie Howe, where we know they're resilient defensively, we know they're good going forward. If they brought in him and someone else, Guéhi is apparently available for £45 million. I think that'd be excellent business. Now, another bit of news, they are heavily linked with Joao Pedro. Now, Mike McGarvey is one of the most credible journalists out there. They've said Newcastle step up their pursuit of Joao Pedro after missing out on Bryan Mbeumo. Now, Bryan Mbeumo has decided to join. His preference is to join Manchester United. Now, Tottenham are in for him, Arsenal are in for him, and Newcastle are in for him. All three of those clubs can offer him Champions League football. But for whatever reason, he wants to join Manchester United. After all, they are still Manchester United. Joao Pedro, however, I think would be a good signing for Newcastle. It's going to be very difficult for you to bring in a striker right now that is as good as Alexander Isak. He got 16 GA in 27 games last season, right? He's currently only 23 years of age. His contract expires June 30th, 2028. He can play as a centre forward, he can play as a left winger, or he can play as a second striker. Someone that Alexander Isak isn't going to be able to play 50, 55 games at the very top of his game. At the bare minimum, Newcastle have 8 Champions League games, 38 league games, and you'd imagine they'd make quarterfinals of the FA and League Cups. That's another 6. So Newcastle are immediately going to play 50 to 55 games next season. You want to make sure Alexander Isak is fit and ready to go. So bringing in another number 9 of Joao Pedro's quality, I think, is significantly strong business. I thought maybe bringing in a Liam Delap would have been good, but I do really like Joao Pedro in a Newcastle shirt. They've got aspirations to go and win the league title. They want to win the league title within 10 years of the takeover. They won their first piece of silverware in nearly 60 odd years, or whatever it was, 50 odd years. They've got Champions League football for the second time in 3 years. They need to kick on now. Signings like Joao Pedro and signings like Kim Min-jae are exactly, for me, what Newcastle need. Now, on the 3rd of June, Sky Sports News put out saying Newcastle are interested in Brighton forward Joao Pedro. They then went on to say Sky Sports has been told Joao Pedro would only consider a move to a club where he was the first choice striker, which could be a stumbling block. I think he would get more than enough games in a Newcastle shirt. He only played 27 league games last season, right? And he played 3 in the FA Cups. He played 31 games at Brighton. Newcastle have got 38 league games, right? They've got potentially 6 cup games and Champions League games. Alexander Isak cannot play that many games without getting an injury. So there's significant games he will get there. Another one that's being heavily linked with Newcastle, because they are after a winger, is Jack Grealish. Now, his wages are, of course, a massive stumbling block on this. I don't think Newcastle should be going in for Jack Grealish. I think his better days are behind him. I still think he has got a point to prove, but I think it's a gamble. And I don't think Newcastle are in a position where they can make gambles to go and do that. He only played 20 league games this season, and he only played 20 league games last season. And over the combined 40 games, he only got 6 GA. That's not strong enough for what Newcastle want and Newcastle need. He's an excellent dribbler. He can take players on. He can win free kicks. There's no doubt he's got bundles of ability, but I think it's too big of a gamble for Newcastle United. Now, one player that I think would be a very, very good piece of business, and Newcastle United fans are very familiar with this guy, and that is Nottingham Forest winger Anthony Elanga, who had an unbelievable season with Nottingham Forest. They've got into Europe. They're in the Conference League. Transfernews.co.uk have put out, according to Mail Sport, Nottingham Forest would only entertain offers for the 23-year-old from Newcastle United for around £50 million. 6 goals and 11 assists in the Premier League last season for the 23-year-old. Overall, he got 18 GA in 43 games. He can play as a right wing. He can play as a left wing. He's played as a centre forward. He's played as a right mid. He's played as a left mid. He's played as an attacking midfielder. And we all know Eddie Howe loves versatility. I think if Newcastle United had a window where they brought in Anthony Elanga, they brought in Kim Min-jae, and they brought in Joao Pedro, and they probably will make 2 sales, that would be a window strong enough for me to go again. Newcastle will win silverware next season, and Newcastle United will get top 4. I really like Elanga. I think he's got a lot of ability. He scored in a lot of the big games. He's assisted in a lot of the big games. In the 3-1 defeat against Newcastle, he was the one who actually got the assist. He got the assist against Liverpool. He got another assist against Liverpool. He got 3 assists against Brighton. A goal against Manchester United, an assist against Chelsea. You know, I think for me, he's got a lot of ability and a point to prove, but it is again a gamble. But at £50 million for a guy that, you know, 23 years of age, just had a breakout season at Nottingham Forest, you know, where a lot of people thought he wasn't going to be good enough. I think he would be an excellent piece of business, you know, for Newcastle United. They've got a lot of, like I said, I really like their midfield. They just need to add a few other pieces to the jigsaw, and they're pretty much there. You know, they've got a good preseason set of games. They play Arsenal, they play Atletico Madrid, they play Celtic. They've got a couple of other games. They had a good end to the season. They won the League Cup against Liverpool. You know, they beat Chelsea. They got Champions League football. You know, they, apart other than the last 2 defeats of the season, they did have a really, really good end. And if you think if Newcastle United, under this coaching staff, under this manager, can add a few more sprinkles of fairy dust, I think they will be a very good side next season. When you got players like Isak, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, Pope's, the fullback pairing of Livramento and Lewis Hall, providing they can hold on to him. And even if they do have to sell Livramento for £70 million, that could bring in a Joao Pedro. That could bring in, you know, someone else. And Newcastle United have a good track record of signing players. So I trust their board, I trust their hierarchy to go out there and, you know, replace the players they've currently got. I mean, you think there is a sleeping giant underneath. If Newcastle United can go and spend that money, if they can wiggle around the FFP potential situation, Newcastle will be a big, big problem next season. Make sure you drop a like on the video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. I am out.